Hi guys, it's the Macintosh Guide and I'm finally back from my vacation. Now I haven't uploaded a video for a long time, however I've just needed some break from work and from recording and I'm finally back at it again. Now the first video I wanted to do was about the Mac Pro 7,1. Now you might be wondering, you've done loads of videos on this machine. This machine wasn't with me for around 2 months and I wanted to share you my story and experience with how this machine went through Apple support, the issues and the long wait times, and now that I finally got it back, how it's really doing. So guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy this story. So as some of you guys obviously know, the Mac Pro 7,1 I've had for just over about nearly 2 years now. I've got Apple Care on this machine. The specifications are a 16-core CPU, 96 gigs of RAM. There's a built-in 256 gig drive from Apple, but I've put my own 1 TB SSD into this machine, and it also has a Radeon 7 Pro 16 GB card installed, which is obviously a custom GPU in this machine. Now, this machine worked absolutely fine, had no issues with it. However, in the last, maybe around 3 months ago, I started having yellow screen issues. Now, I don't have a video clip of it. However, a user called the Definitive Mac Guide, I believe his name is. Sorry if I butchered him, I'll link his channel in the description. Me and him were chatting on Discord a few months ago, and he was having a similar issue, but I believe it was a different coloured screen. I'll see if I can pull it up, and I'll put everything in the description if I can. But I started having something similar happen to my machine, and I took this machine to Apple. And basically, it was a hassle to take it from my own house. You know, I took it in my own car, drove it all the way to the Apple store, and then, you know, brought it down from the lift all the way down to the store. And then, you know, this is literally a machine that they've only seen, I think this is the second time they said they've seen this machine in their actual store. So very rare, of course, very rare. But yeah, they plugged it in, they saw what the issue was, they were able to replicate it, and then they said, okay, we'll take it in, and then we'll just go from there. So the machine's now with Apple. I obviously continue working on my different machines I have. And I don't hear back from them for a while. So what I'm now going to do, guys, is I'm going to switch over to just some gameplay, some games, while I continue telling you the story. I don't want to be showing you guys just different angles of the machine, as some other YouTubers might do. So yeah, I'm just going to switch over to some gameplay of some games while I continue my story. So guys, I just wanted to first of all say gameplay is of GTA 4 on the Xbox Series X. So, just to continue my story, so I took the Mac Pro into the Apple Store. They confirmed that they could also see the yellow screening issue that I was seeing with my Mac Pro. At this point, it was running macOS Ventura. I only started noticing the issues with Ventura being the OS that was installed on it. Now, I did revert the OS back to Catalina, the original OS that came with the machine, but the issue was still persistent at that point, thus me taking it to the Apple Store. Now, took it to the Apple Store, they, as I mentioned, they acknowledged the issue, they took it in, a couple of weeks go by, get a call saying that, okay, we've ordered a new logic board, we've installed it, but now the machine's not booting up. Which worried me. I was like, oh, well, hang on a minute. I gave you a machine that was functioning. Why it's now not functioning? What's happening? They said, don't worry about it. What we're going to do is when we think it's a faulty motherboard, logic board, we're going to order another one. Don't worry. The issue should be fixed very soon. They ordered another part. Bear in mind, the part costs around £1,100 in the UK for Apple. So they already spent over £2,400 just on ordering logic board. They ordered the logic board, came through, they installed it again on the machine, and it didn't work. The machine wouldn't boot, nothing was happening. Apple were confused, they're not sure what's going on. They gave me a call, informed me of the news. And I said, okay, what's the next step? They said, okay, we're going to turn around and we're going to now try and put in some official memory. We see that you've got some aftermarket memory installed, which is true. I was not going to be paying the skyrocket prices that Apple have, and I was able to get 96 gigs of RAM for a cheaper price. So I said to Apple that's fine. They said we're going to get official RAM it could possibly be a problem with configuration. Let's put the official RAM in and see how it goes from there, and then we should just be able to pop your RAM in, and that's pretty much it. Good old days. A few weeks go by and Apple called me back and say we've installed official Apple memory and it's not the memory. The memory is not, even their own memory wasn't working with the new logic board, which is odd. Why could that be the problem? So they then suggested, okay, we're going to replace the CPU. Now, bear in mind, guys, I have a custom CPU. And also when I purchased AppleCare, I made sure that if I buy parts aftermarket, does Apple support cover me? Now, Apple do say that we're not going to cover you for aftermarket parts. However, CPU is the exact same that Apple installs. It is the exact same model that is installed on the Mac Pro. And I have a 16-core version. I had an 8-core model, which I upgraded to 16-core by an Apple reseller who's an authorized reseller. So it shouldn't be a problem. The reseller even said to me that, yeah, no, AppleCare will support this, no worries. So I said, sure, no worries. No, that's pretty good with me. So Apple straight up said, okay, they said, look, we're going to get in touch with the engineering team. We'll come back to you. A couple of days go by. I get a call from Apple and they say, we spoke with the engineering team. They said, we can't get a spare 8-core CPU to test because Apple engineering team said it needs to be the actual spec, the default base spec model that I purchased. That CPU needs to be installed in the machine for them to then authorize the replacement 8-core CPU to come through. Now, obviously, I don't have this 8-core CPU anymore. I, of course, got that traded in and had the 16-core model put in. So obviously, I wouldn't have this model anymore. I wouldn't have the CPU anymore. So Apple said, well, we're just going to give you the machine back as non-functioning. And that's when I turned around and I put my big boy pants on and I said to Apple, I cannot accept that because you're giving me a machine that's non-functioning, and when I gave it to you, it was functioning. Everything was working except it just randomly yellow screened after going to Ventura. I said, I want to speak to a store manager. I don't think I can accept that. Very politely. I wasn't rude. There was nothing, there's no, there was no need for me to have bad behavior. I could, but there's no point of me putting a fuss up for it. So they said, okay, that's fine. We'll get a Apple store manager to contact you and then we'll go from there. So 2 days go by, no store manager calls me. So I give Apple a call back. I said, hey, I was supposed to get a call 2 days ago. No store manager called me back. What's going on? Explained my situation and they said, yep, no worries. We're going to put you on call with them now. So I said, brilliant. So I spoke to an Apple store manager and absolute lovely gentleman he was. And he pretty much said to me, I completely understand your issue. Let's try and get this machine at least back to functioning. And see how that goes. So the first recommendation the manager said is, look, what we will do is we will put the original motherboard or logic board back into the machine and we will see if we can flash the firmware back and then test it that way. Now, the new logic boards that they put in, they are not flashable because of the fact that they came flashed with Ventura. So if they try to flash it back, it wouldn't work. There is no other firmware for it to know that it ever existed on the board. So Apple turned around and long and behold, they flashed the motherboard back to Big Sur and the machine booted up with no problems. Now, this is including all my existing parts, my 16-core processor, my 96 gigs of RAM, which are aftermarket, the 1TB SSD I have installed via an Excelsior drive that's also put in, and my custom GPU, which is a Radeon 7 Pro. With all of that being just a firmware related problem, which I'm so grateful for being the only issue, was the problem. So yeah, that's my story in terms of how Apple was able to fix my Mac Pro 7.1. Now, the device itself was at the Apple Store for 2 months when I received it back just a few days ago. The guy, when I picked it up, I'm very thankful for, actually picked the machine up and actually took it all the way to my car as a safety because of how expensive the machine is. They took it all the way to my car. They put it into my car, made sure it's all comfortably wrapped. Yeah, really appreciate that from my local Apple Store to do such a thing. Now the machine itself, guys, is now fully functioning, no issues. It's running without a problem. But I just wanted to do this video really to let you know from my perspective that I had a pleasant experience, even though Apple were not able to figure out what the actual problem was from the beginning, but we were eventually able to get down to the grit that it was actually just Ventura firmware, which leads me to my final saying, guys. Ventura is not a great update if you've got an Intel machine or any Apple machine really that supports Ventura. Main reason being it's really highly optimized for Apple Silicon to an extent, and it is a buggy nightmare, especially for Mac Pro machines. Now, if you've got the new 2023 Mac Pro, it probably works absolutely fine for you, but I know that it came with a sleeping issue. But yeah, that's my experience with the Reading Apple Store. It was pleasant. Let me know how you experience and if you've ever been to the Apple Store with any Apple device related problem. Thank you to my local Apple Store. That's a huge shout out to them. It's a very huge relief. Guys, this was the Macintosh Guide, and I shall see you in the next one.